order. Can we please rise for the flag salute? Chief Cahill, can you please start us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lisa, roll call, please.
Commissioner Kriebel?
Here.
Commissioner Landgraf?
Here.
Mayor Holtzman?
Here. Pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the law. The first thing on our agenda tonight is a presentation, and we are joined with, if I can find, County Counsel, Atlantic County Counsel Jim Ferguson, and retired Judge Mark Sanson. They are going to go through the devil in the detail of this process that I was fortunate enough to be selected from the county to be part of the committee with Jim Ferguson, court staff, including judges and administration, and a handful of mayors in Atlantic County. So this is more for the commission, for Lance and Tim, for you guys, as well as Maria and anybody else out on our team. You guys can ask questions when they're done. Like I said, I've been involved with 2 meetings every other week since, I think, August. So I'm going to let them take it over. Jim, are you going to start or?
Yes, I'll be happy to start. And first of all, I want to thank you.
Jim, change your lighting. We can't see your face.
I'm sorry.
Jim's in the witness protection program at the county.
The background behind me here is just, it's darkened. I don't know that I can get it any better.
Okay.
But in any event, I want to thank you, Beth, and the other 2 commissioners for allowing me to speak. And also I want to thank your administrator, Maria Mento, and Madam Clerk Hand for helping to set this up this evening. It's a pleasure to be here with you. This is the first presentation that Judge Sanson and I are making to any municipality. We previously made presentations to the Mayor's Association and the Chief of Police Association, but this is the first municipal committee that we're addressing. This whole process started back in the middle of the summer when the county executive came up with the idea of trying to form a countywide municipal court. And I was asked to put together a committee and chair that committee. And as you know, Mayor, you've been on that committee, and we have met regularly since really the end of August, beginning of September. And those biweekly meetings have taken place, in fact, up until last evening when we had a meeting with the full committee. The process has unfolded where we've had a subcommittee of municipal officials that meet normally biweekly on Tuesdays, followed up the next day on Wednesday with the larger group, which includes officials from the court system. On those calls are usually Howard Birchtold, who's the trial court administrator, Brian Jetter, who is the municipal court manager for the courts, and 1 or more of his assistants. And then we have Judge Lou Belasco is usually on those calls, who's the presiding municipal court judge. And sometimes we're also joined by Judge Mendez, who is the assignment judge for the vicinage. Our talks have been very I think positive so far. As you know, I know you, Mayor, that you know that we put in for a grant. We were invited to apply for a challenge grant with the Department of Community Affairs, and we had a lot of help in that process from Rick Ricardella, who's with that agency, and Eileen Brennan, who does a lot of the municipal event managing for that group. And it was announced on Tuesday, as you know, that our grant application had been approved, and we will be receiving a grant that will assist with this project. But let me get on to some of the particulars. I set this up in a way, I know you've seen a draft agreement that would form this court, and it basically is a three-part agreement between the county, whatever municipalities decide to join up, and the county. And basically, the way it's set up is that the municipalities that join would form, two committees would be formed from the municipalities, a 5-person governance committee, and that committee would have input into the budget process and would also keep the other municipalities informed. And there's a process that's laid out in the agreement as to how those representatives would be chosen. We also would have a personnel committee, a 5-member personnel committee, again, chosen from the municipalities. And that committee would be charged with being involved largely in the hiring process of the court personnel. The court personnel would include the administrative personnel who would run the court, and also would include the selection of the municipal court judge or judges, the municipal prosecutors, and the municipal public defenders. Now, there is a possibility that the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office may very well get involved and would provide us with a unit from his office that would come in and prosecute these cases. We believe if that happens, that would be a further savings in the matter. The process would basically work where the personnel committee would basically RFP these positions, would advertise for these positions. We would have people apply to the committee. The committee would then review resumes, would interview candidates as they deemed appropriate, and then would make recommendations for hiring in these various positions. The committee would also make recommendations as to what the salary structure should be for the various positions. That would all get passed along to the county executive, who would make the final decision on the hiring, and then his recommendations or nominations would be approved by the county commissioners. The judge is handled a little differently, and that's because according to the state constitution and statute, in a joint court setup, the judge has to be nominated and approved by the governor. So the process would unfold in a similar fashion up to the level of the county executive, but then county executive would forward his recommendation on to the governor's office for approval. Now, I want to add a caveat in here, and that is at the present time, this current state of legislation does not allow for a county to manage and operate a municipal court. There is currently pending legislation that was introduced by Senator Sweeney that would allow for a joint court setup. The original version that he put out in October of last year did not provide for any involvement by the county. The county executive and I approached him and proposed a mandatory language to that legislation, which he has submitted. And we also proposed a further amendment, which I discussed with his executive staff member, that would allow this operation to start January of 2022. So if that legislation gets through, we would operate this court through the county, with various people being employed by the county and the various requirements that there are under civil service, since the county is a civil service entity. The caveat I raise is we have to, and I discussed this at yesterday's meeting, Mayor, and you're well aware of this, we have to have a plan B, because if that legislation is not adopted in a timely fashion, all of the municipalities that are interested in this really have indicated to me that they want to start this process sooner rather than later. So we're trying to aim for a January 1st date. In order to do that, we probably have a window of several more months for the legislature to act on those amendments. If not, we can still do a joint municipal court. And we can still do what I'll refer to as a tripartite agreement, but it would have to be done with a lead municipality taking the role and taking over the function of operating the court. The county would still supply the court venue, which is the government building, the Atlanta County government building in Mays Landing on Main Street, commonly referred to as the old criminal courthouse. And the county's role in this is the county will be going in and making the capital improvements to set up the courtrooms, the judges' chambers, the conference rooms to be utilized by the municipal prosecutors and the municipal public defenders, and would also set up a 1,500 square foot administrative office to be used by the administrative staff. And that will still take place. The county's involvement will still be there, whether we operate under the county, what I'll call the county control system, where if the mandatory legislation gets passed, or if it doesn't, we would then proceed under the joint court concept, but the county would still be a partner in this, furnishing the location, paying for the setup of the security, and paying in part for the security costs, as well as the upkeep and maintenance of the facility, all being done in accordance with Administrative Office of the Courts, or what is referred to as AOC standards. Okay, that's something that's mandatory and that the AOC requires and will be part of the process. So that's the basic setup of it. But the municipalities, regardless of whether this is run by the county or a lead municipality, the municipalities that join will still have a substantial stake and role in the process through these two committees, both the governance committee and the personnel committee. And that's all laid out in the draft agreement. I know that you have also received spreadsheets that were prepared by Howard Birchstold's staff, which lays out what a proposed budget would look like. Now, again, I want to make it clear that this is still a work in progress, but we forwarded to you based upon every municipality that at least expressed some type of interest in this. We produced a spreadsheet showing what the potential savings would be. And obviously, the larger the court, the more municipalities that join, the greater the savings would be. It's all based upon economies of scale. We're shooting to try to get at the outset 8 to 10 municipalities involved in this. And if we can do that, we believe. What's that?
I lost you for a second.
Okay, I'm sorry. If we get the requisite
Mark, can you
number.
hear me?
I can,
You hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you, Jim.
Okay,
I can hear Beth. Can you?
okay.
Tim?
I'm sorry?
Can Lance and Tim hear you?
Yes.
I can.
Okay.
I think Beth's picked, she was freezing up a little bit, so that might be
Okay.
her issue.
Okay. But in any event, we believe that based on the initial figures that were worked out, Ventnor would probably see savings of in the range of between 40 and 45%. I know the spreadsheet that was handed out showed greater savings, but that was based on if we have, I think it was 15 to 17 municipalities join. We're probably not going to have that number join at the outset for one reason or another. But if we got 8 to 10, Ventnor would still see substantial savings. The way this would work is the budget would be formulated and the amounts or the assessments would be made against the municipalities based upon the pro rata share of the cases that they have in the system. Those are figures that are kept by the court system. They have those figures and the percentages can easily be worked out where then that pro rata share would be applied to the overall budget and Ventnor would get, under the proposal, would get a bill once the county budget is formulated from the county treasurer or CFO, that would go to the municipality's CFO, and then the remittance would be paid in due course after that. We believe it's a concept whose time has come. This is a way that generates substantial savings for municipalities and actually get them out of the business of municipal courts. And it would also allow for much greater productivity of your police force, because right now when you have court, you have to have police officers in there providing some of the security, officers whose time can be better spent out patrolling or investigating crime, which is what what their main purpose is. So, and also in a town like Ventnor, due to the space limitations that you have there, at least the mayor has always indicated to me that, it's a crowded setup there for your court, just because of the space limitations. That would free a lot of your space up. So there are advantages on a number of fronts, and I'll be happy to take questions, but I would at this point like to turn it over to Judge Sampson, who will talk about this from the court perspective and the advantages that this presents from the criminal justice system.
Hi, everybody. This is Mark
Judge
Sampson.
Sampson's been part of the committee from day one.
Yes.
Jim, you left him out.
You left me out. I'm kind of used to it. Yeah, my name is Mark Sampson. I'm a lifelong Atlantic County resident. I was a lawyer for 30 years, and I was a Superior Court judge for 14 years, and I served in many different divisions in the Superior Court. When I retired, when they kicked me out at age 70, which is mandatory retirement, the Chief Justice and Judge Mendez, the assignment judge, asked me if I would, contribute my services towards this goal. The reason that the judiciary of the state of New Jersey is involved, and the Chief Justice is involved, and Judge Mendez is involved, and we're all involved in this, is because we realize at the end of the day that a state system which has 565 municipalities, it's no longer, probably was never a very successful economic model. But certainly at this point in time, it has become a very non-economic model. And also the COVID pandemic has initiated a series of changes in the way municipal courts are operated to make it a particularly advantageous time to change and to consolidate within counties. It is a very difficult thing to do. Change is always hard because everybody is used to the system the way it was, and possibly at this point in time, it's a recognition that we can no longer afford the system that way it was going forward. But my argument, the reason that the judiciary is involved is, obviously we want to save municipalities money wherever that is appropriate to do, but we believe that a consolidated model will deliver a better product. What is the product of the judiciary in all levels, municipal court, Superior Court, Appellate Division, and Supreme Court? It's the delivery of justice. And so the argument that we are making is this will be not only a less expensive municipal court, but it will be a fairer and more just system. What is written on the Supreme Court of the United States above the columns is the words equal justice under the law. And we think that this model is more likely to assure equal justice under the law. The county system, and the county has stepped forward to front a lot of these costs for the municipalities and to pay a lot of the costs for the municipalities, because I think they are in agreement with this, this goal. But a county system provides a centralized and secured facility in Mays Landing that meets all space, access, and security standards. We're working with the county, obviously, to create a state-of-the-art facility in Mays Landing. We are working with the Atlantic County Sheriff, with Eric Scheffler, who I met with last week, to provide state-of-the-art security, which will, as Jim said, alleviate a lot of the security responsibilities from having municipal courts in Ventnor and all the other municipalities. The changes which have been created by COVID have allowed us to exercise a lot more of our management information systems and electronic muscle. We believe that even after the COVID crisis, and I hope it ends tomorrow, but even after it ends, approximately 80% of cases will be handled virtually, will not be handled in person. In the old days, I was a lawyer in Atlantic County for 30 years and a judge for 14. And during my 30 years as a lawyer, I appeared in probably every municipal court, including Ventnor in the state. And were they all uniform? No, they were not. Were there good courts and great judges? Yes, there were. Were there less great judges and courts that did maybe not up to the standards of other courts? Absolutely. And did justice in many cases depend upon what judge you came before in a system which was not united in any way? It certainly did. And that is probably not a good thing in a system which relies upon fairness and equality as a determinant of the successful delivery of justice. We believe that probably upon the reinitiation, the centralized court, there will be probably 80% of the cases currently held by municipal court will be handled virtually. There will, part of this program, and as part of the costs that will be fronted by the state and the county, will be the provision for people. They talk about the digital divide, that some people can afford computers and some people can't, and the networking gear. There will be kiosks established in every municipality who is a participant in this program, which will allow people to come in and to utilize a kiosk with a virtual hookup so people can hear cases in that manner, which is what's really going to happen in the future anyway. The old days when you show up in Ventnor, to use an example, but the larger municipalities like Egg Harbor Township, you would show up in Egg Harbor Township and there would be 300 people waiting there for one judge, one prosecutor, one public defender to process the cases. If you were lucky enough to have a lawyer, you would go first. If you were unlucky and didn't have a lawyer, well, luck or unluck depends upon the outcome, I guess. They have to wait till 4 o'clock in the afternoon to argue a parking ticket if you wanted to do that. Those days are under this system, those days would be gone. So the purpose of the judiciary is uniformity of justice, greater access. We're going to be holding in excess of 80 court sessions, morning, noon, and night per year. There will be less waiting time. Cases will be scheduled more quickly. There will no justice delayed is justice denied. We will have a system which will be run in a much more efficient, quicker manner countywide. We're going to implement full expansion of access to the courts through technology and remote proceedings for all court users. Cost effective means video court, giving court users regular ability to attend courts virtually, reducing the need for travel in most cases. The only cases you'd have to hear actually and not virtually are cases for which there is a possibility of incarceration. Usually those are DUI cases. I guess there's other remands from Superior Court where that may be a possibility, but it's estimated that probably 80% of the total cases to be heard will be heard virtually. And that's going to be the new reality given our virtual technology, which we're exercising right now in terms of this meeting, and that's not going to change. We're going to be improving customer service by sharing resources, extended hours of operation, which I discussed before, and expanding services to address specialty case types, domestic violence cases, drug treatment, and mental health cases, which I'm going to go into a little bit more in a moment. We think that the cherry on top of the sundae is that you're going to save a lot of money as a result of doing that. What we were shooting for is at least a 33% savings, and it looks like if you look at the spreadsheet that's been prepared by the judiciary, it looks like the savings in many cases will be up to 50%, in some cases more than that. Those spreadsheets were not prepared by Mark Sanson because Mark Sanson would not have the necessary expertise to do that. And they weren't done by Jim Ferguson. We have 3 people working on that. One is Howard Berchtold, who has been the trial court administrator, has worked for the judiciary for over 40 years. His specialty is municipal courts. Lou Belasco, who is our presiding municipal court judge, who is the the guy who is the, I don't know, the superior of all the municipal court judges in Atlantic and Cape May counties. Lou also has 30+ years experience in municipal court. And Brian Jetter, who's the team leader for the municipal court team with the Superior Court. These are people who know what they're doing. They know they're putting out figures that people will rely upon, and they took a long time to do it. And we required to get a lot of input. And some towns like Ventnor were very cooperative and sent us their costs. Other towns we had to fill out, some of the powers that be, want to keep the whole problem in New Jersey. People want quote unquote home rule, and therefore did not want to share statistics. And most of those people have come around now, but it was difficult to get the information. That's why we've been working on this thing pretty continuously since August or September of this year. So the spreadsheets that you look at, well, whereas Jim gave you the usual proviso, these could be somewhat different in actual experience. We're pretty confident that each town in this county will effectuate savings. But that is not the reason the judiciary is involved, or at least it's not the only reason. The more important reason is reasons ensuring equal justice and transparent justice. And also, it doesn't matter where you come from or who you are in order to obtain justice. I just want to go over some of the capabilities we'll have with a unified system. We'll be able to, I myself ended my career as a recovery court judge or a drug court judge in Mays Landing. So we'll be able to have a drug court-like process in this centralized municipal court program in concert with the county prosecutor, Damon Tyner, who is very supportive of this concept. And we'll have one location for treatment providers to be able to show up and to take a more of a direct role. I can tell you from personal experience that one of the problems with recovery court, as we call it in Atlantic and Cape May counties, is that many of the cases that used to be indicted of people who are drug addicts are now remanded to municipal court. They're not indicted. When I first started as a judge, if you had a glassine envelope with a trace amount of heroin, you were indicted. That does not exist anymore. And the model is up to 30, 40 bags of heroin. It's remanded to municipal courts. And the municipal courts have no resources or extremely limited resources to deal with treatment needs for people who have a disease. And the disease is addiction. Addiction is a disease. It is not a moral failing. With the municipal court, we'll have an enhanced ability to be able to deal with that on a unified and efficient basis. Secondly, domestic violence cases. Victim services can be more easily provided with special sessions devoted to DV and having special treatment providers there to deal with domestic violence cases in a successful way. And it's just not economically possible to do that when you have 15 or 16 different municipal courts operating within Atlantic County. Clearly, if you think about it in the terms of 565 in the state of New Jersey, it's impossible. There's going to be also a central location. What's the problem with many people who come in and have issues in municipal court? Mental health problems. And mental health problems are not adequately being dealt with now. A centralized municipal court would allow us to deal with mental health screening by service providers, development of treatment plans, and ability to address all open charges and unpaid fines in one location, as opposed to having people who commit offenses, particularly mental health and addiction and drug offenses. They probably have committed these offenses in 4 or 5 different municipalities. They may go to 4. They're going to certainly forget to go to 1, and then you have warrants issued, and that usually is very counterproductive to recovery in these specialty areas. As I said before, we will have cost-effective means of doing video court. We will give court users regular ability to attend court virtually. We will supply through state funds kiosks in each municipality to allow people who are on the wrong side of the digital divide, is what's called the digital divide, for people who don't have access to computers. We will provide that access. And one of the things we discussed with the police chiefs when we met with them was, and there was a fear that, we're going to have to drive out to Mays Landing 15 times a day. That's not accurate, because the appearance of police officers in just about every case can be done virtually. So it will actually save your police officers time. They should be out in the street protecting Ventnor and not, schlepping back or spending the day hanging out in municipal court. Not that they would do that, but certainly they will be able to spend more time on the street as a result of this particular plan. One of the things I talked about was, enhanced justice. There will be uniformity. The plan is, depending upon the number of municipalities that initially sign on to this thing. And let me tell you, my opinion is within a couple of years, this system is going to embrace every municipality in Atlantic County for sure. At the beginning, there may be some people that are still reluctant, but it will happen eventually. And we're being heavily supported by the state and by the grants that we're going to receive, which are going to go directly into service. But there is going to be more uniformity in handling cases. There's going to be fewer judges. There's going to be a chief judge as is common as is would be known. I don't know the exact name that we're going to give that person. And there's going to be some other part-time judges who are going to handle these 80 plus sessions per month. We're going to have more court sessions each week, which will allow cases to be settled quickly. And I said that before, less waiting time for the people who have to go to municipal court. And I can tell you, and I'm sure you've all had experiences with family, friends who complain about going to court at 9 o'clock in the morning and waiting until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then they don't reach you. It's one thing to go wait there till 4 and they do reach you, which is irritating, but it's maddening to have to wait there for 8 hours and they don't reach you. That will not happen because we'll have greater control over the schedule and there'll be more than one court going on at a time. We also will have the ability of our probation department to take more of a role in the Superior Court Probation Department, take more of a role in dealing with people and making municipal court probation a reality as opposed to a non-reality, which it is now because we can't divide up our probation department into numerous court systems. That's really all I have to say. My argument is it's great that it's saving everybody money, but the judiciary is primarily involved with the Chief Justice, who we have heard from within the last week in terms of what his agenda is. But this is something that is very important to the Superior Court system based upon the improvement of service and the improvement of fairness, the improvement of transparency and reliability. That's all I had to say, although if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Jim. I'm going to open it up to the commission. Commissioner Landgraf, Commissioner Kriebel, Maria Mento, our BA, I think our police chief. Anybody out there, you have any questions for Jim or Judge Sanson?
I have a couple. Tim, I don't know if you had any.
Okay, go ahead, Lance. Maybe we'll have similar questions.
Thanks, Jim, and Judge, thank you for your time and your dedication to this. It is certainly something that we are looking to save our municipality a significant amount of court costs that we have in operating it. Just doing some quick math and loose and fast with the numbers.
Let me interrupt you for 1 second. I will tell you, I've been involved in this system for a long time, and it was always my belief before I became in this process that municipalities made money on municipal courts. My eyes were open when I saw the statistics that what you're seeing that you will save on the spreadsheet is only the beginnings of the savings that you will achieve. Every municipality in Atlantic County loses a vast amount of money on the operation of municipal courts. All right, now I'm sorry. Go ahead. That's
okay, Judge. That's certainly your prerogative. Just quick and loose with the numbers, we could save 170 to 180 grand a year in our budget. I mean, and that's not in the spreadsheet numbers. That's the 40 to 45%. So I think that's something that definitely interests me. Knowing what we have coming up against us in the next few years with labor contracts. We'll talk about that in our budget later on this evening, but we were able to keep our budget down this year to zero, but that's not going to happen in the next few years. We need to find other ways to lessen our cost as a municipality. And if this is one of them, and I know Nanette had asked the question in the chat, how about the police officers going out to Mays Landing? And you answered that. That was great. So a lot of it can be done through virtual. We're all learning how to do that. So I think that's something that'll be a positive as well. I would like to hear from Chief Biaggi and his thoughts on it. And also our solicitor, Tim McGuire, who certainly has handled municipal court as a judge in other towns, and just to get everybody's input on it to see if it's something that can work.
Who do you want to speak first?
Chief, you can go.
Okay. When I speak, there's also a whole bunch of other chiefs that are involved in this. So I'm going to keep my comments real basic because the Atlantic County Chiefs of Police Association will be forming a committee to get involved as much as they will be allowed. But our concern is that I think as an individual city, whenever you centrally locate something, I just want to make sure that we don't lose our ability to be part of the plea process and make sure that the judge, the prosecutors know that this individual may be an ongoing problem and does not deserve ongoing breaks. You know, we've had this person in front of us 5 times. So I think it needs to be known out there, and we have to have that liaison with the centralized court so that our interests are always met and our victims' interests are always met, and they get justice, righteous justice.
If you raise a very good point there, and I'm glad the association is going to send representatives. As you know, I encouraged that when I spoke before the group back. I think it was on March 16th.
Yes,
and
great.
we do value your input because that is very important. That would be the last thing we would want to do, would be to set something up here that then works against the interests of people who have been victims of crime or are, I'm paraphrasing now, problem people and are going to be problems, and you need that information communicated. And I don't see any reason why that communication couldn't be had under this system, and I would encourage that. And I believe if Prosecutor Tyner supplies the people to prosecute, I'm sure he'll work with your association in making sure that procedures are in place so that the individual attorneys who are in court know the feelings of the police, and also take into account the needs of the victims in these situations. That's vitally important, and I would certainly not want to see that disturbed at all, and I don't think it will be. In fact, I think based on some of the things Judge Sampson said, it may even be enhanced under this system.
Well, we wait patiently with bated breath to see how this turns out. It sounds like a really win-win for everybody if it's done correctly. So
I agree, Chief.
Yeah, and you know what, Chief Biaggi, when we started this back in August, there was I think there was maybe me and I think Northfield Mayor, maybe one other, and it's built up momentum as time went on. There's a lot more municipalities that have come on board that are in the meetings and interested. So,
well, I hope you guys do it right. I hope they do it right because it's a great idea, and great ideas have been fouled up before for not doing them right. So I hope they do it right. And it sounds like they are going to. So let's just sit back and observe, and hopefully this will work out as great as it sounds. We're excited.
thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question, and,
Who's next?
My turn.
Wait.
Go ahead, Maria.
this is minor, and I
Wait,
apologize.
Maria, hold, wait, did Commissioner Kriebel want to speak? I don't know if Tim wanted to speak.
I can wait. Go ahead, Maria.
Okay, go ahead, Maria, go.
Apologies, this is minor, but sometimes I get stuck in the weeds. How do you envision the kiosk to work? Because you know, you're going to need a staff person to help.
If you go to Mays Landing or Atlantic City, the courthouse is there. There are kiosks which were set up with people who are tasked to lead people through the system. Look, my thinking is, and I know that my thinking may not be right, most people are going to have the capacity as they go through the system probably most of the people who are going to be involved in this thing, or residents of Ventnor, will have access to computers and to internet capabilities, but there will be some who will not. And those people, we understand, we're going to have to establish, give them iPads, computer bases to be able to be scheduled in. And when we have those people there, then we're going to have people also who will, guide people through the process who are not capable of using a computer. Just so you understand what's happening now. Right now, there is a virtual grand jury where people who they're giving out iPads to people, or small iPads, and they're participating in grand jury proceedings. And also they're having virtual civil trials. They because of the Constitution, they can't have virtual criminal trials because you have the right to confront your accuser, all these things are of constitutional dimension, but that's not correct in civil. So there are people who are having virtual civil trials. Admittedly, it is hard, and you have to, and some people who are totally not computer savvy, you're going to have to give them some help to get on and how to use it. But those are things, that's the future. That's what's going to happen in the future. This is not going to change. I mean, it's going to be whether you're doing this court in Ventnor or you're doing this court in any municipality. It's estimated 80% of the cases are going to be handled virtually, and the judiciary has freed up the money to create these kiosks. And one of the beauties of Atlanta County, if we are the first one, or one of the first ones, there's going to be possibly 2 or 3 counties, pilot counties in the state. And if we're one of the first through, we're going to get a tremendous amount of resources to make it a success. And I think ultimately that's going to be advantageous.
Thank you.
But I don't disagree with you. There are people who don't know what they're doing, and they're always going to have the option of going to Mays Landing if they want to, but it's not something that they'll have to do. And I think a lot of people will opt out of having to go and sit in court all day because that's what they do now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Judge. Commissioner Kriebel?
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks for your work on this, Mayor Holtzman.
Oh, you're
And
welcome.
everybody involved. A lot of my questions were answered. I think anytime you're asking people to work differently, it's going to be a learning curve. So in terms of the Zoom and some of the other nuts and bolts of the day to day, I would just suggest that there's a clear sort of action plan or concise instructions for each department to know that this thing gets pulled off in a way that is that's positive, because it does. It sounds like it ticks a lot of boxes for us, but I think the learning curve, anything you can do to shorten that learning curve for our officers, and then just to echo Yaji's comments, I think he has championed a real community policing model here in Ventnor, and anytime you want to continue that that philosophy, and I think I don't want to speak for him, but I know that's the way he operates. And I support him in that. And then just to react to your reaction about the cost, it is something that we have to get our head around. Most of the people think that the court is a huge profit center for the city because they're the ones paying the $100 parking bill, but it is not. It's clear in the spreadsheets that there's somewhere in the north of $4 million being spent in all those counties that you broke down. And none of them are a huge revenue windfall there for any of us. So it's potentially a positive, and I'm hopefully optimistic. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Is there Tim McGuire? Where's Tim McGuire?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes, I have some questions. Let's start with the $2,194,930.41. Where is the backup to indicate how you arrived at that number?
Howard has all the. Howard Burke told Tim, if you want to see that backup, Howard, Brian, and Lou Belasco labored over it for probably 4 months So they have all the backup, and I'm sure they would produce it for you. Or if you call Lou, you know Lou, you can call Lou or Brian, and they would go over all the backup with you, and they would tell you how they arrived at the figures. Trust me, Jim and I spent a lot of time trying to get them to commit and give these numbers. So they are comfortable with these numbers, and that was not easy.
Your Honor, if they're comfortable with the numbers, is there any reason why they wouldn't distribute them to all the municipalities?
I
other words, you would think if
believe
they're-
I believe they would. This is a transparent process, and you feel free to call them and feel free to request whatever information you want, and I'm sure they'll give it to you, and you can distribute it as you see fit.
All right. In the first column, when you have the current 3-year average of cost, what was included in those numbers for the municipalities?
It was based on the numbers that were presented to us by the municipalities. And once again, I have the spreadsheet the same as you do. I don't have the backup numbers, but I am sure that Lou, Howard, and Brian have the backup numbers, and they would be glad to give it to you. But I will tell you the one thing that's very interesting. They did not include the year 2020 because that's a COVID year. And so the numbers would be skewed. And in fact, the losses to the municipal court would probably be far greater than the losses to the municipal court. We use 17, 18, and 19 as the 3 base years for those figures. So there was a real effort, Tim, to make this a very fair apples to apples comparison and not use 2020. If we had used 2020, I am told in any event that the savings would have been a lot high. The proposed savings from municipal court would have been a lot higher, but we tried to be fair and use normal years, not COVID years, that COVID year.
Tim, those numbers, just so you know, I don't know about the cities, but like for Ventnor, those numbers were pulled from Al, our CFO, and Maria, right out of our budgets. That's where our numbers, and that's where all the numbers should have came from for all the municipalities, but I can't speak for all of them.
And Beth is aware of this. Some of these towns, it was very hard to get the numbers from, and I think we've got them now, but Jim had to issue a Freedom of Information Act request to many of the towns that are covered in that sheet. But all the numbers were gotten directly from the municipalities because we're clearly unable to do it. And and I would argue that the savings that are going to be effectuated by Ventnor are going to be greater because not included in there is the direct cost of a security, how the police have to provide security in municipal court, and other administrative expenses other than salaries were not included. Just direct costs were included. I think overall, if Ventnor goes out of the municipal court business, my belief is, and I think Howard's belief and Lou's belief, the savings will be greater than those shown.
Well, Al, you're online. They just indicated they got the numbers from you. Are you telling me that the salary and the benefits of the municipal court in the city of Ventnor for 2017, 18, and 19, when averaged, equaled $424,000 plus?
The salaries with the benefits, yes, for the employees and health benefits are included.
The salaries alone equal $424,000 per
It's
year.
not just salaries, Tim. It's all fringe benefits.
Fringe benefits and expenses, office expenses were all, I included that too.
What expenses?
Their operating budget. The court's operating budget.
The operating budget that's submitted to the administrative office of the courts?
No, the operating budget that we finance through the town.
And what is included in that operating budget?
It's and also it's what their budget. I mean, their operating expenses, their office supplies, the furniture, all the paper, everything that they use to run their office. And also it also includes the salaries of the police officers that have to go monitor it.
Right. And Tim, just to let you know, it looks high because it's salaries, but a lot of people don't know that fringe benefits, the rate is 62%. If you hire somebody at $100,000, it will cost you $162,000. Fringe benefit between healthcare, between taxes, between workman comp, disability, pension. People don't realize when you add all that up, it is about 62%. 62 cents on the dollar when you hire somebody. So it's not just their salaries, it's their salary, all their fringe benefits and everything else Al said. Am I correct, Al?
That's correct.
Al, do you have those numbers that you can show to us so we can take a look at them?
Sure, absolutely.
All right. So let me ask you a question. If you look at Ventnor and you have the current 3-year average, I'm assuming you deduct what you anticipate the contribution to the county is going to be, and that is how you come up with your savings. Is that correct?
Are you asking me? I mean, I'm not necessarily the financial guy, but that's my understanding. Plus you get the fine, you will get the fine revenue. So you have to add that to your savings. So you're going to save money and you're going to get the fine revenue on top of that. In other words, you're still going to get you're going to get all the income. You're just getting rid of a lot of the expense, which makes it such a kind of, I think it's kind of a no-brainer financially. I think the other issues are why I'm here, but financially, it is kind of a no-brainer because you're going to get every single dollar of the fines that you're entitled to. As you know, the total fines, Tim, you've been doing this for a long time. The fines are divided between the state, and there's all sorts of formulas. The city doesn't get it all, but they're going to get the 100% of the municipal share still goes to the municipality.
And that's Your Honor, that's contained in the last column. That's the municipal share.
Yeah, I mean, yes, correct.
All right. So, Al, if someone had a union contract or is a member of civil service, and if the court was eliminated, they would still have to be employed at the city with the city at the same salary. Their salary and benefits, et cetera, was not included in the savings, correct? Because it wouldn't be a savings to the city. They'd still be paying that person.
If they still work for the city, yes. I mean, all I provided was what we spent for those 3 years, based on the people that were working there at the time, what their salary was, what their pension was. I didn't factor into anything to say, okay, now they're going to work for somewhere else for the city. No, I just presented what was spent.
But you agree if under a union contract or civil service, they still did work for the city, that wouldn't be a savings to the city.
If they had to still work, no, we're not. If they did work for the city, there's only one person, and there's only one person in the union, I believe, in the court at the present time.
Right, but is that fair to use 17, 18, and 19 when there was more employees and say, hey, this is how much it cost, and say, well, there's only one employee, so the savings really wouldn't be that great. That's like apples and oranges.
Well, no, Tim, the reason we didn't use 2020 is that your savings would look like there's more because your costs are going to be, your overhead costs are going to be the same, and your fine revenue, I'm sure, was way down.
But there are less people.
I don't know whether there were less people. If there were less people, then maybe. But the reason we use 17, 18, and 19 is because Lou and Howard and Brian said that is a fairer way to do it than to use an abnormal year with COVID when your fine revenue is, I don't know what it is, but I am told by those guys that your fine revenue was drastically reduced.
No, I understand that. The average cases per year, are those disposed of cases, filed cases? What are they?
That's cases disposed of, as I understand it.
So it's not the number of cases that were filed with the court, it's the number that were disposed of.
Over the 3-year period.
An average.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you indicated that the savings could change based upon that number changing in the future. Is that correct?
Yeah, I assume so, yes.
Okay. So if there are more cases from a municipality, does the amount of savings go up or down?
Well, I mean, it all depends. If you have a lot more cases, you had to hire more people, then the savings may go up. But if you could do more cases with the same people, then the savings may go down. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if Lou, Howard, or Brian would know the answer to that. That's predicting the future.
Well,
my guess is your costs are never going to go down. So the costs are probably going to go up. And so the savings will be greater. I mean, Tim, think about this. I mean, you're getting rid of dysfunction. It's going to be absorbed by the county. The county is coming up with millions of dollars to retrofit a facility and to provide security, which Ventnor is going to pay a share, but is certainly not going to pay a share of the upfront costs that are going to be incurred by the county, or not much of a share. So the county is advancing monies here to basically help the municipalities save money. There's no hidden agendas that I could even see possible here, other than, it's change. As somebody mentioned, as I mentioned, change is hard, and there's always going to be costs of change. And look, I don't want anybody to lose their job. I want everybody to be happy. I want, I want, everything good for everybody. But at some point in time, does the model of 565 municipal courts in the state of New Jersey make any sense whatsoever? And I think from a lot of different perspectives, and once again, what I'm here for is not the monetary perspective. And for that, you really need to talk to Howard and Brian. I mean, Jim would not know that in detail, correct, Jim? That's not what you've been doing.
Not to the extent of the type of information that I think Tim is looking for.
I mean, you clearly have to go to Howard and Lou and Brian, and they will go into whatever detail you want. They've spent a lot of time doing this, and have prepared as fair. This is not a marketing document. This is as fair a doc prepared by public employees to share with municipalities to try to lay out what is. Nobody's arguing for anything. Either the county's going to do it or they're not going to do it. If they don't do it, they're missing, in my opinion, a tremendous opportunity, as I said, from a process perspective. And the economics of it are very important to everybody, to the taxpayers for sure. But this is a possibility to change into a more cost-effective and a fairer model. And that's what they're trying to do. Nobody here that I know of is going to gain or has anything to be any reason that they would try to prepare an unfair, overly optimistic view. I think they've been very conservative because they know they're going to be stuck with these figures.
Judge, and I apologize for letting this kind of go down the rabbit hole of looking at the detailed finances, because I don't think we're there yet. I wanted.
And if we're there, I'm not the guy to do it with, and neither is Jim.
Right.
It's got to be with Howard, with the guys who put this thing together, which was not me. I just know these guys. There are no three people in the state of New Jersey who have more experience, and Tim will tell you this, who have more experience in the operation of municipal courts than Howard Berchtold, Lou Belasco, and Brian Jetter, all of whom are responsible for preparing those numbers, and have been very nervous about preparing those numbers, as Jim Ferguson will tell you.
Right. And again, I don't want to focus on where the detailed numbers really came from. I'm looking at a big picture. I really was looking for Tim, our solicitor, Tim McGuire's input, because he's been in that municipal court.
Absolutely.
So I was looking more from, can this work? What's your opinion on how this might work? But let's move on from that. And
Commissioner Landgraf, let me say this, and then if it's okay with everybody, we can close the discussion. This document is fluid. This document is going to change, and it depends on if there's 17 municipalities, if there's 13, if there's 11. I mean, it's basic math. The numbers are going to change. The savings is going to change based on, so it's constant, until we get a memorandum of agreement, or whatever legal document Jim says we need, and the city and the municipalities say, yes, I'm on. Once we get that, we know the group we're dealing with. Then the numbers, they're going to fluctuate. The cost of 17, 18, and 19 aren't going to fluctuate, but the savings is going to fluctuate. We can go from 35% to 60%, or we can go from 53% to 45%. It's going to depend on the amount of municipalities involved.
How can you make a rational decision based on numbers that are going to change?
Well, we're not making a decision right now.
Unless you're saying that people will come back again with another presentation when we know what the actual numbers are.
Because I think, Tim, no matter what the actual numbers are, there will be a savings. I think we, the commission, look at it as a savings, whether it is 25% savings or 55% savings. It's going to save us, the city of Ventnor, money.
Right. But I agree with some of Tim's questions that need to be answered. If the numbers weren't, if that 425 number, 424 and change isn't accurate, doesn't include salaries, if we're not going to, so here's my point of this. If we're
No, our
gonna,
numbers are accurate.
I understand that, but it may not include everything is what Tim's talking about. So here's where my concern is. The courts go to the county and we have to keep the employees here.
No,
That doesn't make any sense.
we don't
Well,
keep the employees. The court that's on our second floor is gone.
Right, but we would have to keep staff if they're in a union. We have to keep them.
No, we do not keep them.
Okay, that was one of the points that Tim was asking. That if that person is under a contract, we would have to keep them.
Not
So
if you go,
to me,
not,
that would negate any savings that we're having if we got to pay somebody.
Let me just respond, and I don't want to get out of my ballywick here, but I assume if you kept them because of a union contract, they'd have to do another job. They have to do a job. They just couldn't sit in municipal court when there's no municipal court. I wouldn't think.
Right, it would be a different position, but
Right.
not
We're
the
getting ahead of
elimination.
ourselves here. We're really getting ahead of ourselves, I think, at this point, right?
we are, because the people in the municipal court, the only time that comes, the only time this scenario would come to fruition is if there was a reason we had to keep them and their civil service, the only way they could keep their job is if they had bumping rights. And most of those people do not have bumping rights in titles that exist in our city other than court title positions.
Wouldn't it be an intergovernmental, Beth?
Excuse me?
Wouldn't it be an intergovernmental?
It would we'd probably do as an intergovernmental, and a lot of them may end up getting hired.
Yeah.
I mean, they would just go under the county system, but we would not keep them. And if we had to keep them, the only way through civil service would be if they had bumping rights. And I think the majority of the people that we don't even have that many employees. Their titles are, they've come in as court workers, and that's where they've stayed. The only time you can bump is if you have like a senior clerk title. They would be able to bump a senior clerk, say out of code or finance. That would be the scenario. And then that person that gets bumped would get laid off. So it would be a savings.
So I thought that this was going to be the only presentation to Ventnor. If in fact the numbers are going to be changing and people will come back when we have the final numbers, I apologize. I just wanted to make sure, as always, we fight for the taxpayers. I have a final question. The numbers will change going forward in the future once the system is implemented. Will the increase or decrease in what a municipality pays be based on the number of case filings? Or will it be similar to the county tax rate based on the rateable base of a municipality?
Cases.
No, it was cases, Tim. That came up, and that was raised by one of the other members of the committee. And we went back at the county, and the deputy county administrator ran numbers for me. And most municipalities make out much better by doing this based on the pro rata share of cases as opposed to your equalized value. So that concept was dropped. There was discussion about that. That's no longer a discussion piece because it's just not going to be worthwhile to the large majority of the municipalities.
And
Right.
Jim, you took a vote with mayors. We
That's
did not
correct.
want it that way.
That's
And
correct. You're right about that.
So just two more comments. One, Jim, you understand that creates a disincentive. In other words, the less tickets a police officer or a town writes, the less they pay into the county system. Number one. Number two, I would like to thank you and Judge Sanson for coming out. I greatly appreciate your presentation. I'm just trying to make sure that as we proceed, everyone has true and accurate numbers so they can make an intelligent decision. Somewhere along the line, someone was going to have to ask these questions. I appreciate your efforts very much. It just happened that Ventnor was the first town you came to. So the questions got asked tonight. I'm sure you'll have others when you go to other towns. But again,
Right.
thank
No question about it. And, look, we expect questions and we like questions. You're only doing your job by asking questions. So that's not a problem.
Yeah, Tim, no problem. And this is an open book
Yeah.
exam. And when I tell you, you could call Howard or Lou, these are all guys call them up and ask them for the backup. And whatever backup you need, we would provide.
Yeah, and Your Honor, just so you know, we had a judges meeting, and when one of the judges tried to get into this subject, he kind of got shut down. So I appreciate what you're telling me. I'll follow up on that.
Yeah, definitely. Who shut you down, Tim? I'm curious.
It was during our judicial meeting, and Judge Fauntleroy tried to bring up the subject, and I thought he got shut down very quickly, in my opinion.
By Lou? Or you're not saying? All right. Well, whoever it is, I am telling you right now that the intention is to have an open book exam here. You want to find out those numbers? That's fine.
All right. Thank you, guys. Hey, and
Thank
great
you.
seeing you both again.
No problem. Thank you. It was good talking to everybody, and thanks for inviting us. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thanks, Jim.
Thank-
Thanks,
Thank
Judge.
you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice night.
Yeah,
Thank
have a good evening.
Right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Judge.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Tim, Lance, Maria, Chief, and Tim McGuire for the questions.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We warmed them up
Yeah, we warmed them up. That's right.
with other towns. Tim, thanks.
Good questions, Tim.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to move on to the meeting. Yes. All right. We do not have any department head reports. We don't have any capital discussion. The first resolution we have separate than because of what it is. It's 2021-127, and it is the resolution for us approving the 2021 municipal budget. It's introduced by title only. Is Leon out there? No?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, there.
I don't see him. Leon?
He's there.
Okay. So Leon, other than, we right now have a zero. We do not have an increase and we do not have a decrease in taxes this year. Am I correct?
Correct. You're absolutely flat, the same rate as last year. Was a lot of work done to make sure that that happened. You also have no increase in the school budget either. So both of the two city budgets are at zero.
Great.
The county's still up in the air. They still have some stuff to do. Not from negligence, but they're waiting on the stimulus money to see what happens. And in all likelihood, they could be zero also.
Okay, great.
Residents
So
are saying that we'll have-
so you and Maria and Al did a hell of a job. And of course, all our department heads keeping things tight so we can come in at a flat, no increase this year. A decrease was far-fetched with COVID and all the unexpected things that we had to deal with. I know we had our Board of School estimate meeting and they came in with a flat, no increase, no decrease. I do want to take this time to mention that I think from what I'm understanding from speaking to some of my administrative staff, that this year is great, thank God. The next couple of years may not be that good, and a lot of that is contingent upon some labor negotiating contracts that we are in the midst of. If the state no longer has that 2% cap, if we can't come to the middle of the table with some unions, they will go to arbitration. And unfortunately, I think the arbitrators usually side with the unions and not the municipalities. Saying that, if they get what they are asking for and they are not as reasonable as we would like, I want the taxpayers to realize that there will probably, without a doubt, be an increase in the next few years in our budget. There's no way on God's green earth that we're going to be able to balance the budget based on the request of two unions. So, anyone else have anything to say?
Yeah, I do, Mayor. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
just, again, and you said it first, thank our department heads and, the challenges of 2020 and coming out of that, we really thought we were going to have to have an increase this year. The guys and ladies, I shouldn't say just guys, they all did a great job with that. Leon and Maria and Al, your work with not only our budget, but with the school's budget, enabling us to keep that as a zero increase with doing what we've done in the past. We get creative. We take capital improvements. We bond for them. We will continue to make those efforts to do the best we can for our residents and our taxpayers, to do what we can to keep the budget as low as possible. You always try to lower it, but that's difficult. Costs go up every year. Salaries go up every year. Benefits go up every year. We had a really strong contract with all of our unions coming into 5 years ago when we negotiated those, and now we're back at the table again, and it's going to be a struggle to do that with the 2% cap that I thought was reasonable. That was statewide, really enabled us to do that. Now that that's gone, I don't see any way that we're going to be able to keep those costs of these salaries and benefits to something that's reasonable. I think it's unreasonable from what I'm hearing that's being asked for, and we'll get to that point through negotiation table. But as you said, Mayor, if it goes to an arbitrator, we're out of luck, and that's disappointing, to say the least.
It is very. Okay, Commissioner Kriebel, you have anything to say, or?
Well, yeah, we're in this together. I've been a part of those labor meetings from the beginning, and it's a lot of moving parts. Our team has been really analyzing the numbers from every different direction. But the reality is the math just doesn't support the types of 4.5, 3.7 type increases that are being asked for at the table in the years to come. So these are just the math realities of it, and that's why we're talking about other things for revenue sources like the shared services of the courts and other revenue sources throughout the city. We've had a great, the ratables are up, but this is somehow the taxpayers have to be the ones that benefit from the strides that we've made and worked for and had to sacrifice for in lots of ways. So it's not going to be an easy road in the next couple of years, but thanks everybody for the work that you're doing.
Right. And just to add, I speak for myself, and I know I think Commissioner Kriebel and Commissioner Landgraf, you're on board as well. Not giving employees what they're asking for. We are not. I don't put a price tag on people or their job. It's not. They're not worth it. They're worth it. That's not the issue. It's just being reasonable and being. I guess I expect the employees to be a little taxpayer sensitive, and based on what I'm hearing, what is being asked, there's no taxpayer sensitivity going on, and that's a little disturbing to me. But be that as it may, we'll see how it all works out. So for this resolution, do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
Motion to approve a budget with a zero tax increase.
Do I have a second?
Second, to approve a resolution with a zero tax increase. Well done.
Lisa, roll call, please.
Commissioner Kriebel?
Yes.
Commissioner Landgraf?
Yes.
Mayor Holtzman?
Yes. We do not have any minutes. So we do not have any ordinances to introduce. We do not have any public hearings or adoptions of ordinances. So I am going to run through the resolutions that we are going to vote on by consent. And then I'm going to have to move my position to charge my phone because it seems to be almost dead. Okay, so the first resolution by consent is 2021-0-128. And this is authorizing and enforcement for no parking within the city of Ventnor from April 1st to June 30th. And this is for special events, any kind of construction or weather. Do I have a motion? No, that's no motion. We're doing these by consent. I know, sorry. I'm in the workshop. I got confused. The next is resolution 2021-129, authorizing adopting a change to an existing deferred compensation plan. So I don't know if Maria wants to give some color on that or Al. And in the meantime, I'm going to go off video. So sorry, guys, I'm going to move.
This provides the option of allowing the employees to invest in a Roth after tax investment.
Okay.
Okay, can you wait? I have to get my charger. That's it?
That's it. It's recommended by our advisor, which is valid.
In the backup, it looked like I was reading, like we changed companies or something, but I guess I was not reading it right.
No, it's another investment option. You have to approve those.
Okay, just give me a minute. I have to, my phone was charged, but the discussion lasted long on the court, so I have to move. I'm sorry.
Look at it.
Matter?
I'm gonna pull it. I didn't look at it since I got it.
Okay. Hold on, guys. All right, hold on. I'll be with you in a minute. Okay, everybody there? Hold
We're
up.
here.
All right, hold up. All right.
Background music.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Okay. All right.
Yeah, this is the employee 457 plan.
Okay, I'm back. Hold on.
For the
Out of breath, but back. Okay.
for them to designate their funds into a Roth fund or even to convert them to a Roth fund, existing investments.
Okay. Okay, we're good.
We're good with that.
All right, next is 2021-130, and this is amending resolution 388 of 2020, authorizing job 2 title for Donna Peterson as the emergency response specialist. We go with that?
Yeah, we
Yep.
we changed just a little bit from what you did before.
Yeah, it's a tweak.
But it's a
Okay.
similar thing.
Okay. Next is 2021-131, and that is awarding engineering and construction management services for the water and sewer improvements on Baltimore Avenue, Wyoming Avenue, and Lafayette Avenue construction phase services to de Blasio and Associates, not to exceed 89.5. We're good with that?
Yes, this is construction management. Once he's already done the design, once they get into construction, this is for inspections. That's a cap number. There's an hourly rate. He will bill at that hourly rate. Whatever we come up with at the end, it will not exceed this number without coming back to us. Ed's using a different method to do this. Instead of just giving a percentage, we are
Right.
actually doing it in a better, more efficient manner, and a money savings manner. So it's a good plan moving forward.
Gotcha. Okay. Sounds good. Next is 2021-132. And that is, which I'm very excited because last year we couldn't do this because the academy was closed, if Chief Biagi's still out there.
I am.
Okay, you know how crazy I was with this, right?
Yes, I do.
Hiring class 1 officers, and I saw 6 names. So I am very excited about this.
Yes.
Yes. This was something that Chief could and Captain Fuster could not even try to do last year because the police academy and the ranges were all shut down due to COVID. And it was quite frustrating. So I was glad to see that today on the agenda. The next is 2021-133, and this is authorizing no parking on South New Haven and South Washington Avenue beach blocks, both sides, and on Atlantic Avenue, eastbound parking lane from New Haven to Washington Avenue on Saturday, April 25th, 2021, from 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. to 12 noon for the April Fool's half marathon. I think we do this every year. We're good?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. And then we will have approval of our bills and payroll. So the next thing up is our discussion items. I'm having a little problem with that word. Anyway, the first discussion item on our list are the marijuana regulations. So who would like to start this? I mean, I can if you want.
Either that, oh, go ahead, Mayor. Go ahead.
Okay. Tim McGuire, thank you for everything you sent. I read through it several times. The only thing in what I was reading, the only license that we in Ventnor, in my opinion, that we could even think about was the class 5, which is really like retail for it to be sold in Ventnor. I don't see anywhere in Ventnor where they're going to cultivate it, or I didn't see the other licenses pertaining to us. I could be wrong. That was my take on it.
Mayor, I just want to interrupt you. I left my notes in the other room, but there's one, it's called a driver license or distribution license.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
delivery. Okay, thank you. Mayor.
The trucking
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, we have no say in that. That will happen. We can't stop that.
Right.
So in other words, whether we have a facility or not, if another town has one and that facility wants to make a delivery to Ventnor, we cannot, there's no way we can prevent that.
Right. Hold on. Let me wait, I have all my notes too. Hold on. Let me grab 1 second. So that one, but then out of all the other licenses, what I looked at and what I reviewed was I only saw, hold on a second. I only looked at license class 5 that would be something to consider. I could be wrong. So, and when I think about it, I think this is, honestly, I think it's going to be one of our tough decisions because there's a tax credit, and like we just got done talking about needing money. But there's also the image of Ventnor, and it scares me if we have a place that we, you know, that we allow that license and a place sells it. I don't know how the people will take it. I don't know how they'll understand. You know, I don't know. There's been enough studies done. It's legal. This isn't the first state. I also look at it like, part of me looks at it like there's liquor stores. How many liquor licenses, Lisa, do we have? 13? Retail?
Trying to think.
All
It's on
right,
a
not-
spot.
I think it is 13 distribution licenses.
Yeah, so we have 13 liquor licenses, 13 for distribution, which are stores. And nobody has a problem with that. So will they have a problem if we allow someone to open this, you know, a retail for marijuana? I personally look at marijuana, liquor, they're both, you know, if you want to say suppressants. Studies have proven that marijuana is not a gateway drug. I also did my own research on when this was going to become legal, because what a lot of people don't understand is if you go into a store and you buy it, that's all you're buying, and it's controlled. People that buy this from a friend or off the street, they don't know what they're getting, number one. And they also now are offered other types of drugs, you know. So, I mean, that's the bottom line. You go to someone's house, they don't just have marijuana. They say, well, I also have this, I have this, I have that. You go into a store, just sell marijuana, that's all they have, and it's controlled and it's safer. So I'm really like this way with it, and it won't go anywhere unless one of my cohorts agree. Part of me feels like it's not a big deal. Like I said, we have all these liquor stores, and I think it's almost safer for people to buy from a controlled retailer than someone growing it or someone doing whatever the hell they're doing with it. But I don't know. You know, I know worse, even though we have liquor stores, people look at Ventnor as a very homey community. So I'm a little confused. I'm confused. Can you
Not
tell?
an easy decision. And
No,
I think we have a little bit of time to get our
Well,
thoughts
we do.
together on it.
But there's something that I was made aware of today And I believe Northfield got on board with it and already started to make an ordinance. We don't have an ordinance that says you can't do it right now. And I believe there's a time frame coming up within the next few months where if you don't have an ordinance, you will never be able to get it.
August, Chief.
Right.
August 21st.
Right. So with that said, if we're going to sit on this, I think we really need to get an ordinance that says right now we don't want to. And then after that, we have no idea how this is going to work out. And just like with the court systems and all that, we're kind of waiting on the state to make legislation and see how it's going to affect us. But I think we really have to look at preserving ourselves right now. I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I mean, I do know the goods and bads, and marijuana is not high on my list of, knocking it out of the world. I mean, it's just not a big deal to me.
Right.
However,
if we do not do an ordinance, then we don't have any control over.
That is correct.
Exactly.
And I think that's what we need to do, at least right now. Like I said, since we're in a fact-finding thing, the state has no idea how this is really going to unfold right now. And I think at least Tim should be looking into what Northfield did and maybe drafting an ordinance of that type to at least give us a little bit more control for the time being.
Well,
and it's not, go ahead.
I think we're saying the same thing, Chief. And I'm going to sum this up in a little poem so everyone will understand. We have to say yay or nay by the last meeting in May.
Wow.
All right? So we can discuss it, but we can't discuss it for a long time, because you either, if you're going to say yes or no, there must be an ordinance that is introduced at the last meeting in May and adopted at the first meeting in August.
There we go. So, I mean,
Can't doubt it.
Okay. So that's our time frame.
Chief, is there any difference in enforcement like you had when we started having?
Let's not talk about enforcement. The way they unrolled the whole marijuana thing with us not having to tell parents and then police being charged was just ridiculous. So I do not trust anything coming out right now. I would do everything we could to protect ourselves for fear that the state may botch it again. I don't want to have 20 different amendments coming out after this. I'll get it right the first time.
And
So-
Tim,
I have
correct?
two questions. I don't want to get into enforcement real deep, but I do have two other points. But Mayor, did you have a question?
Yeah, real quick, Tim McGuire, if we do an ordinance to opt out, we can reverse that at any time. However, if we do an ordinance to opt in and allow it, we cannot get out of that for 5 years. Am I correct?
That is
Yeah.
correct.
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay,
That was my-
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tim.
No, that was one of my questions. I didn't understand that, so I appreciate that.
Okay.
If we opt in, it's a 5-year sort of wait period before we address
Right.
it. And
Yeah,
the other
if we opt in, we're locked
Before
in
we
for
change
5
it,
years.
before we can change it, right?
Right. If we opt
Yeah, and I think
out,
it's I think it's 5 years from August.
Right. It
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
yes. If we opt in, we can't get out for 5 years. It's like we're in jail. If we opt out now, we can always reverse it and opt in a year from now, 2 years from now.
And that would be my recommendation. I believe, Tim, you were saying that's similar.
Yeah.
So are we going to draft one, or what are we going to do on this one?
We would ask Tim if you could draft something up along those lines at this point. We'll take a look at it. What I will say is, look, we already do permit medical marijuana to be sold in one of our zones. It's out by the plaza. So there is a coverage there for people who need this for pain medication or for whatever reason. So there's opportunities there for people who have medical marijuana cards that need this for their health. That is available to our Ventnor residents. In neighboring communities, it's permitted out at the plaza to be sold. There's nothing out there. But when we did the redevelopment plan out there, that was one of the uses that is permitted, the medical sale of marijuana. So I would agree with both Commissioner Kriebel and the mayor and Chief Biaggi that I'd rather opt out now and have the ability, once we see how it rolls out, to opt back in than to be stuck with something that we don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 years.
And we're already getting calls from citizens that are already alarmed at what if my next door neighbor smokes and do I get secondhand smoke? So there is a concern out there.
Yep.
So I think we need to take it kind of cool here. I'm not against recreational marijuana either. The time has come, but I think we need to do as much as we can to protect. Not everybody has these same feelings.
Right.
And,
So I would include similar to what we have with our smoking.
right. It's not going to be public.
Not on public property.
Boardwalks.
No boardwalk. I would add sidewalks. I would add right of ways of the city.
And I think that's the direction you should take. So if you do want to smoke and do it in the privacy of your property, I think everybody's happy there. But again, that's just me.
That's my suggestion. I don't know if Mayor and Commissioner Kriebel are on board with that.
Yeah, I want to follow up with what Lance is saying because that is a separate issue. In other words, the one issue is, do we want to have a dispensary in our town? And it sounds like everyone's saying, no, we do not. But the second question is, then you can't stop people from smoking marijuana. If they want to get marijuana, go into their house and smoke it under this new law, they can do that. What you can do is prevent it from being smoked in public places, the boardwalk, the beach, in City Hall, whatever.
Well, that's already in our ordinance. It's letter G. It doesn't just say smoking cigarettes or cigars. It's any inhaling and exhaling of.
It has to be specific, man.
I think you should have a specific ordinance,
It has
though,
to be specific.
specific to marijuana. It has to be.
No different from an open container. Similar.
You got to include edibles. There's so much things that are.
Kate
there's a lot
May
to
is dealing with it, and they've got some good research on it. I've been following that a little bit, and then I think that's something in Ocean City as well. So I think.
So if we have to do a separate one, but I'm just saying, we have this one with smoking, can't do, and it addresses. Excuse me?
We would add it to that, Beth.
Yeah, okay, I got you. We wouldn't do a separate one, we would just add it.
Right. We would amend the ordinance to include it.
Okay, I got you.
I agree with you, Commissioner Landgraf. I think that that opting out now gives us more options than making a decision this early on. And I just also want to point out that the law states that we are limited by a 2% cap on the revenue that we're allowed to collect as a municipality. So, the windfall is obviously is not really there. You would have to have someone operating at $500,000 to get a $10,000 tax revenue from that, and not that $10,000 isn't a lot, but I think it's not, to me, that's not the main motivator. It's whether it's the city is ready for it or not.
Can I make a comment just real quick? And this is as a citizen and as the chief. If you've ever seen that movie, Almost Famous, Ventnor's on the verge of greatness. And we can't grow too quick and do a knee-jerk reaction to every major legislation that comes out with the state. I think we need to keep our balance and our level-headedness in this and just take it slowly, like we've said to each other, see what other cities do with it. It doesn't have to be right away. We've got a lot of things happening this summer. So I think, take it slow. Take it slow.
Yep. Well said, Chief.
I agree.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're good. We can move on this, right? Yes?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, the next is on discussion items is abatements.
Right.
Okay, who wants to open this up?
I asked for it to be on. I just think that we talked about the budget and that not this year. So I'm looking forward into the coming years, and I'm just asking the question. I'm not for or against changing it in any way yet, but we're going to have budgetary issues in next year. And right now, the tax abatement is working. It is driving people to make decisions here. And we are starting to see the benefits of the tax abatements as they reduce. This year is going to be a good year for that, as some of the early abatements start to sunset, the 30% 5-year. What I'm suggesting for discussion is, could we, I know we can, but should we target it into areas that need development more than others, and leave areas like the beachfront blocks and other areas that are already finding development to their own devices, and let the market be the market there. That's my question. And you know, we have abated a great deal of money over the last 4 years. So I don't know where your thoughts are on that.
My thought would be not to do, I mean, I see your point, but I think that's, I don't know. I guess I feel like that's discriminatory to people that want to buy a house elsewhere in Ventnor, or tear down and rebuild or whatever. What I would suggest is, on the money end, is we reduce, it's 5 years, correct, Al?
Correct, 5 years.
Okay. So I mean, perhaps, and it's 30%. I mean, I would play more with the numbers than the locality of, if you buy a house here, you get an abatement. If you buy a house anywhere else, you don't. I like that sort of like doesn't sit well with me. I would rather shorten it maybe, or change, the parameters of it. Instead of 5 years, maybe do 2 years, maybe do 3 years, maybe do a scale down of a percentage. The first year 30%, the second year you get 20%, third year you get 10%, something like that. I mean, that's just my mathematical brain thinking. That's how I would change the abatement program to financially help the city going forward. That's me, Tim.
Oh, I like that. I think that's a really good thought. I haven't thought of that. I mean, the abatement itself is working for empty lots and houses with major improvements. So we're still improving the ratables no matter what when this happens. So I know it is a very positive experience. I just the conservative financial side of me says, if we know we're gonna have these issues in the future, we have to start to mitigate them now. So
I agree. I agree. And an abatement is an area that I think there's a nice amount of money to be had. So maybe we can cost out a difference, Al, from 5 years, drop it down to 3 years, and then then the percentages, and play with the numbers. That's the way I would go with it.
Yeah.
Lance?
Bill, I'm open to discussion. Let me put it that way. Yes, we've seen a huge increase in new homes, new purchases in our city, and that's great. And I think some of that is being driven by that abatement. I think some of that is being driven by, what we've done over the last 5 years to this city. I really do. And, I'm not trying to break my arm patting ourselves on the back, but
I agree.
So I'm open to it. I'd like to hear Bill Crowther's input on it. I'd like to sit down and go through it with him, and maybe he can come meet with each of us and go through it with some suggestions. The one the mayor made, I think, might be an opportunity. And there's other ways to skin the cat, I think. So I think we can move.
All right. I sat with him today, and it was actually very eye-opening. We're getting more and more abatements coming off the rolls, and the numbers are very positive. So this year is even going to be better than that. So, but we're there's still some questions, I think. So yes, I would let's all kind of give them some scenarios to see if there's something that works for the city, for the taxpayer.
Okay, sounds good.
Can I just add a quick item to our discussion? We have Chief Biaggi here. There's a change that we'd like to discuss with you about or not a change, but a discussion we'd like to have about the block party. And I'll leave it to Doug, but there's some concern about it, and we're leaning towards potentially moving it to Ski Beach to avoid the crowds. So Doug, do you want to take that?
All right. So as we all know, the way the block parties run is it basically, when you have it on a block party style thing, we can't control where people are coming in from, which is going to make the tracking of the amount of people we're allowed to legally have very tough, if not impossible. The only way to curtail that or make it a feasible and realistic number counting scenario is to have it at Ski Beach and do it much like they did the Seafood Fest. Now, I'm not totally sold on the fact that we should have it because the numbers are climbing. And again, Ocean City has just canceled theirs. I don't know what the right answer is. I mean, I do know that we need to get out and get back to normal. I want this block party more than anybody. I mean, I just love it. I don't know if having it on the street like we planned is the best option. And there still are people concerned. And I think we either have an open discussion real quick and find out how the public feels, whether this is a venture still worth having, and then move on with just having our summer concerts, or if they want to move it to Ski Beach, which we can do it. Donna Peterson is great at coordinating stuff like that. That's her thing. So it would not be for her and Dina Ruiz to move it and get that set up is not a huge task, or it actually is a huge task, but it's something that they can do. That's what they do. So it really is going to be up to you. And there's going to be people out there that are going to be the naysayers that'll go there just to watch how many people are violating the 6 or 3 foot rule. And I just want you to understand that there will be, one way or another, somebody will make it an issue. So it will fall back on you and me. I've got big shoulders. I can handle it.
I think Ski Beach is a great location. I think it's even better than the actual street. And I mean, honestly, why would we not have the block party when we're going right into the beach season? I mean, do people complain about the people on the beach?
Right.
I mean,
the state laws have always been
5 years. People complain about everything.
Exactly. So I think
we still have to take. I think we do it much like Andy and Penny did with the farmers market. They did a phenomenal job.
Right.
And I think we set it up much like that, and we count people in. Listen,
exactly.
As huge, and people may have to wait at certain times, but everybody's going to get a chance to get in. And I think maybe it's the better and safer way to do it. If we're hell bent on having it, that's the way we should do it. If you're iffy on it and you really do care about the few naysayers, then have to. But I'm giving you.
Let's think about it. So look, I'm as concerned about anyone with the numbers rising, and do we really want to have a public event that's going to draw more people than you're allowed to have in an event?
Yeah, that's
the beach.
I'm just trying to finish my thought here. So why not just push the date to maybe September, to the other shoulder season, and do something in September when hopefully the numbers are back down, and we're hope we're out of this.
Again, we've been down this road, and we've had the surfer incidents, the boardwalk incidents. I mean, we know what's going to happen, but it's just really up to what are you ready to. We can make anything work here. We make everything work here. Yeah, that's just what we do.
Just so my issue with going out to Ski Beach is this was a block party for the businesses in our business district.
Correct.
And,
correct.
Moving it out there, not everybody's going to be able to, close their shop or do whatever they have to do that day to move it out there. You're right. Donna can make this work because that's what she does. She makes everything work, and she does a great job at that. But does it do our downtown businesses the same service as moving it out to Ski Beach? Look, that's a great venue, and I'm open to giving it a try. But we're 4 weeks out.
We are. So, and I got to tell you that Ocean City was probably the deciding factor. They do something, and it's on a much larger scale. And what we usually have is about 1,000 people, give or take, and sometimes it fluctuates up a couple hundred more or 500 more. Who knows? Depending on the day, we could be swamped. I mean, the way the boardwalks are. Yep. And I know people want this. I just want to keep that little voice in the back of my head that says, is it the right thing? And that's where my job is, to give you options. I'm giving you options, and that's where you guys get to make your decisions. And I will support it and make it work no matter what. So that's where we are.
What's our drop dead date on making a decision? Tomorrow?
No, I mean, we could probably pull it off by sometime next week. I would think we'd have to. That we're a month out today. I believe, right? Yes, a month. I think we're like just about a month out today.
Yeah.
So
So do you think the businesses would be, you think it's something we ask the businesses, their opinions about it?
no, some of the businesses don't like it. Some
Yeah,
do.
I was gonna say,
really have-
some don't like it. And it's more for people.
We have to get away from trying to please everybody here because that's what we do and that's how we decide things. It's very tough to do it that way. So again, like I said, if you want to have it, my suggestion would be do it out at Ski Beach, or, you know, like Commissioner Landgraf says, it is a block party. You don't do a block party at a bay. You know, but again, it's options. It's something. It's not the golden ticket, but you know, you get a Willy Wonka bar. You know, so again, it's on you, and we'll make it work. And I don't know if it's going to get worse in a week. I don't know if we're going to have the same dilemma next week. And like, well, you know, so there we go, commissioners and mayor. This one's on you.
I'd
Okay,
like to
so it's something we got to think about and
make a
figure.
decision by early next week, I think.
Yeah.
I would say yes. So, and we can revisit it, and I'm available, and so is Captain Fussner, and there we go. So,
All right.
much as we can say about that.
Thanks, Chief. Thanks for the extra time.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
Chief.
Thank you. Okay, are we good? Are we done with the discussion items?
I believe so.
I think
Okay, so next is the public portion. Do I have a motion to open to the public? For the public out there, this is only a chance for you to speak on anything that we're going to vote on as soon as we go into our regular meeting. Do I have a motion to open the public portion?
Motion open to public.
Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, anybody out there, Jim?
Anybody from the public who wishes to speak or question any of the items that are being voted upon, please make yourself known within Zoom or within the chat feature and you'll be recognized. No?
Okay, there a motion to close public portion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do I have a motion to close the workshop portion of the meeting and call to order our regular meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
All in
Chief.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
you need me to stay.
No.
No, Chief, thank you.
Chief, thank
Have a
you.
good night, Chief.
Guys, have a great night. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're in our regular meeting. We do not have any minutes to approve. We do not have any introductions of any ordinances. We do not have any public hearings or ordinance adoptions. We do have resolutions to vote on by consent, and they are resolutions 2021-128 through 2021-133. Do I have a motion to approve these by consent?
Motion to adopt ordinances or resolutions 2021-128 through 133 by consent.
Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
Lisa, roll call, please.
Commissioner Kribel?
Yes.
Commissioner Langgraf?
Yes.
Mayor Holtzman?
Yes. Next, we have our bills and payrolls. Al, can you please state them for us?
Yes, the bill list for this period was $3,320,085.66. And the payroll for this period was $564,766.28.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve bills and payroll stated from our CF?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
Lisa, roll call, please.
Commissioner Kribel?
Yes.
Commissioner Langgraf?
Yes.
Mayor Holtzman?
Yes. Do we have any announcements or safety reports tonight?
No.
One for
No.
me.
Do we have any other commissioner comments or reports other than what we've talked about tonight?
I have just kind of an update. And Tim, Commissioner Kribbe, you're probably on board with this already, but just an update on the CAFR permitting process for beach headquarters, beach patrol
Yes.
headquarters. It's in public comment. We should get that permit in the next 30 to 60 days. With obviously too late to do anything this summer for the headquarters, but our plan is to have that, demolished and new construction begin in the fall of 2021. So I know, Tim, you're working with the architect on it, but from the permitting part aspect of it from the state, Ed gave us an update this Tuesday, and Ed Stinson gave us an update this Tuesday that it's about in the middle of the public comment period at the state.
Great.
Moving forward.
Good to hear. Yeah.
Thank you.
And the old one's getting a paint job today. If you went by, Frenchie was out there painting it, so it looks better.
Frenchie can hold it together with paint. He's got that special paint.
That's a lot of paint.
I was hoping it would get done this year, but oh well. Okay. All right. Commissioner Kriebel, you're okay?
Really briefly, I want to thank the Public Works Department for their help on the Ventnor West sort of kickoff cleanup the other day. We had the ACUA also. I want to thank the ACUA. They were there to provide clean communities dumpsters, and our Public Works had 3 pieces of equipment out there and created a roadway to the bay, improved it, took tons and tons of materials out of there. And it really looks like a beginning of a process out there. Opened it up to the concrete slab that we could potentially use for an outlook area. And then on top of that, we had a gift of 4 butterfly habitat kits that we're going to meet tomorrow. There's a site potentially around the pump station that has access to water that Ed is going to look at with us, Lance. To have potentially cleared some of these kits. There's actually probably more of these. This is for monarch butterfly habitats, and it would be kind of like an entrance and something that would draw people's attention to, as well as help the monarch butterflies. But being around water, we have some volunteers that are willing to help plant and water these seedlings and small plants. So that's a really great start to something that'll grab some people's attention and create some buzz around the park. And then last thing I have is we created with the ACUA our PR contract with them to help me create 2 notable posts. One was for the boardwalk. No dogs on the boardwalk. There are no dogs on any of the boardwalks in South Jersey, but it somehow came to a surprise to people in Ventnor. It was one of the largest tracking posts. 9,865 people were reached by that post and 71 comments. The notion that dogs are not allowed on the boardwalk at any time. We have access to the beaches at long periods of time. But the 71 comments were largely about the next post that we had planned, which doubled the amount of reach. A lot of the comments on the dog post were about bicycles, and we'd rather you take care of the bicycles and we like the dogs. But the reality is we have ordinances that say that neither are allowed on the boardwalk. There are no boardwalks in South Jersey that allow motorized bicycles, but this post was again surprising somehow and it reached by 21,516 people in a short period of time. And both of those in comparison had fairly, in my opinion, not a lot of negative comments, but in comparison to the reach. So I just wanted to shout out to the ACUA PR department for helping with that, and that our reach in our Facebook continues to grow and tell people how to be courteous, to encourage people to be courteous on the boardwalk. It's going to be a busy summer season, and so it was a positive in my opinion.
Just to follow up on that, if I can, Commissioner.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, you can walk your dog across the boardwalk to the beach.
Right.
Because that was the big question. Well, how do I get my dog to the beach? You're allowed to walk across the boardwalk to get to the beach with your dog when dogs are permitted on the beach.
It's the only way.
You're not allowed to walk down the boardwalk with your dog on a leash or not on a leash. It's just not permitted. And the other aspect of that post was no motorized bicycles are allowed on the boardwalk. You just can't. They move too fast. Their speed limit is they can go up to 25 plus miles an hour on some of these. You just can't have motorized or battery powered bicycles on the boardwalk.
Right. And again, Atlantic City doesn't allow it. Ocean City doesn't allow it. No other boardwalks allow it because it's
Margate doesn't allow it on their boardwalk.
No, Margate doesn't allow it.
I'm sorry. I'm getting punchy
Nice.
now.
Yeah,
But bum.
that's right. No, but a lot of conversations on that, and I appreciate the time to let me point that out. It was, and I think it's good that people are engaging us on Facebook. It's good. It's positive.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Mayor Holtzman, may I just ask one thing?
Sure.
With the budget, I have to advertise it in the paper, and there's a requirement in the bottom of it that Leon had left out, and he wanted me to ask. The next meeting that we're gonna have our public hearing and adoption is gonna be on May 13th. Would
Okay.
that be a Zoom meeting? I just wanted to confirm, because I do have
Yes.
to put that in the legal notice, so I
Yeah,
didn't
'cause
want to assume anything.
It's going to be a Zoom, and I might Zoom myself over the bridge that day. Yeah, we're Zoom. Yeah, it's Zoom.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, love. Okay. All right, so now we're at the public comment section, and this is for anyone in the public if they like to speak on anything at all. Do I have a motion to open to the public?
Motion to open to public?
Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jim, anybody out there, or did they leave us?
Is anybody from the public who wishes to speak on any items? Please make yourself known within Zoom by raising your hand or within the chat feature, and you'll be recognized. I do not see any.
All right, do I have a motion to close public portion?
Motion to close.
Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
We do not have an executive session tonight, am I correct?
No executive session.
Thank you. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you too.
Have a
Safe.
great weekend, everyone.
Bye.